Welcome, ladies. This is Empowered Ease, the podcast where we challenge the patriarchy by empowering women to take control of their health, mind, body, and spirit. My name is Jen Olinger. I'm a holistic coach, founder of the Moonflower Collective, and a critical care nurse. Join me each week as I interview healers, health practitioners, and women like you while they share their inspiring stories and their unique approaches to women's health and empowerment. So, like and subscribe so you never miss an episode, and follow along as we learn to step into our power and embrace a life of ease. Hello and welcome to Enchanted Ease. Today, my guest is Terry Grahl, founder and CEO of Enchanted Makeovers. Hi, Terry.
Hi. Thank you, Jen, for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm so glad you're here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's rainy here, so.
Here too, gloomy day. So Terry, give me a little bit about your company to start with, so we have an idea of kind of what you do and what your nonprofit is all about.
Well, Enchanted Makeovers began in 2007, and I was asked to volunteer my time and paint one wall at a shelter for women and children. So I visited the shelter, and it was way beyond paint. The women stayed at this place. It was an old post office. So they stayed there for a year with their children. And the last stop was the women's dorm. Now, 30 women stayed in this room with all of their children.
How big was this
no
dorm?
Dividers. There was no privacy.
Oh, wow. How big was it?
It was enough room to fit the bunk beds and cribs, and that's it.
That's about it. Okay.
There was no space. Yeah. So I remember when I went up the stairs, it was just chocolate, like brown paint that was donated, and they used it for everything. The steps, the trim around the windows, the door. The door was metal because it was old post office. So you used both hands to get in the room. Oh my gosh. I remember pushing the door open, and everything was broken inside. Because I'm all about repurposing. If I can take it and repaint it and give it, bring it back to life, I will. It was prison beds that were donated. The bedspreads were from a nursing home. I asked where the dressers are. She said, well, we use boxes as the dressers. The walls had duct tape. The baby cribs had duct tape. And I remember taking before pictures because at that time I had a decorating business. So I would take pictures like I would do for a client. And I remember telling the director, I don't know if I can do anything because it was overwhelming. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the volunteers. So I took before and I went home and I forgot about it. I said, I'm not doing this. It's just too much. I have my business. My kids were little at the time. I have a family to take care of. And a week had passed and I just had this urgency on my heart to say, you need to look at those pictures. Well, at the time you downloaded your pictures. You weren't using your cell phone, you used the camera. So I downloaded them and the last picture was a bunk bed and that duct tape on the wall. And I've always loved polka dots since I was a child. And there was two pillowcases, no pillows. There was two pillows, no pillowcases on them. And there was a white, very subtle white polka dots on the pillow. And I heard, trust me. And in that moment, I lifted my right hand up and I said, I'll do it. I didn't know how I was going to do it. And the next day I just went out and I drove to one of the big stores in my town asking for free paint. And the woman rolled her chair out from the office and said, we don't have time for you. And I went out in my car. I did the ugly cry. I went to another paint store. They said, well, when we get done with the customers, we'll talk to you. I got up to the desk. Well, you have to go through corporate to get paint donated. And I share that because my thought at that time was if they could just hear the women's stories. Because once I said yes to this, I already had went back to the women and said, this is my commitment. I'm going to do the best I can. We cried together, the women. I mean, I was just like in tears sharing this hope I had for the women. The women crying with me, it's like I felt like we all became children again and girls that were just all healing. So I felt like if someone could just listen to me, they would understand the importance of this project.
So you
So I
went to
think,
volunteer at a shelter, went
yes,
home, thinking about not doing it, downloaded this picture, got your sign, and then went back, spoke to these women, were touched by their story. So now you're out trying to get donations because you're like, I'm
yes,
not going to paint it this ugly brown color.
yes.
Okay, I love
It's
this.
gonna be what it's this simple is I wanted to give the women exactly what I would do for my clients.
Yeah.
And my clients came to me if they wanted um, country theme or cottage,
Mm-hmm.
or shabby chic. So it was all handmade. It was a little vintage. It was a little bit new.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept getting the no. And I remember I was turning 40 that year. So I remember sending emails out the week before, and I sent out asking mattress companies, I need 30 mattresses. And I remember waking up that morning, and before I touched the floor, I said, I don't want anything for my birthday. I want the largest donation. 12 o'clock hits, and I get a phone call, and it was a gentleman that owned a mattress company. He says, I'm in Mexico right now on vacation. I received your email. And my father always taught me if you can help, you need to do it.
Oh,
I will donate all those mattresses, all the mattress pads, and all the pillows.
so he did more.
Yes, that was my first largest donation. And from there, I said, I am not, no matter how long it takes, I am going to fulfill, I'm going to keep this promise to the women. And the women the dorm was transformed. It was transformed into with the murals, quilts, you name it, new bunk beds. And the bunk bed piece, what I want to share is it was a 15-minute appointment of how I got the bunk beds. Because I believe that we have divine appointments and we have divine timing in our life. And we can choose either to not commit to that appointment and lose something that we don't even know is being handed to us. And I share this thing about the bunk beds is because my first client, if you book an appointment with her, you can't, she's like a year ahead. So she had a 15-minute cancellation. So her client walks in and says, can I get my brows done? And they're like, well, we have a cancellation. So she sits down and starts telling this woman about this project I'm working on. And she says, well, I'm friends with, which was the largest furniture store here in Michigan, was Art Van. And she's, I'll reach out to him. He comes to the shelter in his limousine, the owner of the furniture store. So that's
Oh my
15-minute
gosh.
cancellation of her just sharing. He comes to the shelter. He does the tour of the dorm. He asks me, what is this going to look like? Blah, blah, blah. And then he leaves. A week passed. He calls me and he says, I want to know about you. Do you have children? What is, I said, well, I have a decorating business and it's all about repurposing. I don't know why I said it, but I said, I don't buy your furniture. I have no idea because I was about repurposing grandma's treasures.
Yeah.
So saving grandma's dressers and repainting it and giving it, just loving it back to life.
Yeah, new life.
So I was just speaking my truth, and it was kind of quiet. And he says, well, tell me more about your family. So I shared about my children, and it was quiet. He said, I'm going to donate all the bunk beds and all new baby cribs. That was 15-minute cancellation. And it's been like that for 17 years. It's enchanted. It's truly enchanting when I say that. It's cancellations, it's divine appointments, it's just bumping into people that really, I know this so and so. That's how it's been for 17 years.
Now I know you are nationally now, but where was that
Yes.
first shelter at?
The first shelter was in Michigan.
Oh, I love that. Where you're
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
beautiful. So tell me what made you connect to these women's stories in a way that felt
Well, at first, I didn't know. I know now I had a way greater purpose than my decorating business. I was supposed to be there. And I was supposed to heal my own story with the women. I
Yeah.
can say that now, but as a child, we moved place to place. We moved 12 times. We were homeless. It was living in a one room with family. It was all that all turned into trauma. I can say that now as I'm obviously I became way stronger than I was 17 years ago. That's how I connected was the pain, the trauma. Um, it
Not
wasn't
feeling
that
like at home or having like that comfort of a place to go, that feeling. Is that what you related
yes,
to?
yes. Well, it was. We have a thing on our website that says "She is me,"
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people misunderstand that. It's not about the domestic violence. It's not about human trafficking. I always say to women, "Have you ever felt pain?" Of course, they're going to say yes. And I said, "Isn't that enough to say she is me?"
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all that one little those three little words mean. That's enough that we're not here to save you. We're here to walk beside you.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So that's how I have grown stronger is the women being so bold and honest and you cannot bowl, you know what, the women because they
Yeah.
see through that. They've been, I mean, a lot of them have lived on the streets. They have not only been had abuse as a child, but then that turns into addiction. And then that turns into I have to sell myself to take care of the addiction. Then
Mm-hmm.
turns into incarceration. So they can see through any the bull crap. So
Mm-hmm.
that made me have to turn the mirror to myself and speak my truth as I sat and shared. The women shared stories with me. So I always say the women are warriors. Who
Mm-hmm.
are warriors? They don't see themselves that way. I do. And I now can say I am a warrior too.
I was gonna
So
say.
that's what this means. Yes.
Beautiful. I love that. So tell me the kind of work you guys do. So I heard you mention, you have these shelter victims are long term. They're there for, I don't know if that's all of them since you're working in so many different locations. So I know that as part of your nonprofit, you guys provide a number of different services that women donate. Tell me a little bit about the kind of things you guys donate and do for these women who are in need.
Well, first started with just the transformation of bedrooms, because that is
Mm-hmm.
really your sacred space that you're not sharing. Some are dorms, and then some turn into that you have your own private room, but usually that's 3 to 4 women you're sharing that space with.
Mm-hmm.
So that was always my sacred space as a child, was my bedroom. I felt like
Mm-hmm.
I could escape and just, it was a safe haven for me. So it was only naturally to say we have to focus on the bedrooms. But that organically grew to the capes for kids. None of this was planned out. It went through just the emotions that it grew through what I learned, what the women taught me. So the capes for kids is not about Superman. Because people always say, oh, well, we're going to do a superhero cape. No, that was just me watching the news one day and a mother shared with her son to give it up. No one's going to come here and save us. She lived in Newark, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, I began to cry. But then I always share with people what are tears if there's no action. So the action was I saw her son as the superhero, but you can't give hope if you don't have it. So I don't judge the mother. She couldn't give that to her son. So
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know what? I'm going to go on social media and see if someone will make 25 capes. So I had a woman from North Carolina reach back and she said, I'll make them. So she sent 25 capes. I went back to my local shelter to see if the children would, would they embrace it? Would they think it's silly? The children came to life.
Mm.
It was, I laughing and twirling. And I'm like, in that moment of just how much joy was in the children's face, I knew that this had to be one of our programs. So we started that way. It just had, I never thought it would explode into PBS reached out, come and talk about this. Then it went into Hilton saying, can we make 10,000 capes? The
Oh.
Today Show featured it. I only shared that because what are tears if there's no action?
Mm-hmm.
I never thought it would be that. It was just enough of what can I do? And I share that with the people is just the simplest thing. You never know if it's going to blossom to that, but it doesn't have to be either. It was those 25 children impact that it made. One of the children that had the cape ended up, she obviously grew and she left the shelter, but she kept that cape, the mother told me, in her closet, and she used it as show and tell and telling her story in 6th grade,
Oh my
that cape.
God.
So it's beyond the fabric. It's way deeper than that.
And you've been doing it long enough. Some of these children are adults now. I love
Yes,
it.
yes, the way they're not even children anymore. So
Yeah.
that grew to the doll adoption because the dolls were so important to me as a child. I can
Mm-hmm.
say now when I took care of my doll, I was taking care of myself.
Oh, I love that. I didn't even think
And
about
I
that, but
know
that's
that now,
beautiful.
but
Yeah.
I mean, it was so much about how important it was that they were comfortable. Because I would worry at night before I went to bed, are their arms uncomfortable? Are their legs warm? I mean, I was that deep of a thinker as a little kid because I thought, well, if they're uncomfortable, I can't sleep.
Oh, that's
So
so
I thought, well,
sweet.
what if the children need to have dolls?
Yeah.
So that's how I brought the doll adoption in. And the children have so much embraced it. I mean, no one has said, I don't want a doll. I mean, and when the dolls are laid out, we never give a doll. The children get to pick their doll. It's whatever you love. Because, you might not want that doll that has you know, I don't know. There's some that are crocheted, there's some that are a panel doll, but it's your
Yeah.
choice what you get to pick.
Yeah. Who knows why a child would connect with whatever they're connecting with? Yeah.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that.
From there, it went to the pillowcase program. And it's a traveling pillowcase project. It is not about a traveling size pillow because people think that's what it is. Like you can get the smaller pillows and they have the smaller pillowcase. It's not that. The traveling pillowcase is about how when I would go to bed at night, even through all that moving and I can say this now. I used to pull my hair out. That was part of my thing of just I would pull my
Yes.
hair out, pull my eyelashes out. Um, I was very much of like that leg thing of twisting your legs. I
Mm-hmm.
was in shaking. I was always shaking. That was how I was coping. But I
Mm-hmm.
realized I had the
Self-soothing.
power of my mind to escape. So when I went to bed at night, I could travel. And that's why it's called the Traveling Pillowcase Project. Is I want children to know that's a powerful coping skill. Is that even though you're in the shelter, you can go another place. So that's why it's called that.
So
Is
what does
beyond
that one
the
look like?
fabric.
What does that project do?
Well, obviously we want colorful, fun fabric. We don't want just a white pillowcase.
So people are making these beautiful
Yes,
pillowcases and
they
donating
make
them.
them across the
Beautiful.
country. Yes, and
Okay.
people add little messages. We have a lot for the women. It's I am a warrior. I am precious. I am loved. So we are big about how the power of words.
Oh, affirmations. I love that.
Yes, yes. I believe words can either uplift a life or destroy a life.
Yeah.
So I know how important that is. So that every single project has way beyond the fabric.
Beautiful. So now I know you're all over the country. So how does this, do you reach out to shelters? Did they reach out to you? Do communities reach out to you? How do you get involved in these different shelters and provide the services that women are providing to you?
Some shelters have reached out, but we've also had another divine appointments. So we went to one just to see, is this, no, we've got to learn about that shelter.
Mm-hmm.
Are they good stewards of the donor's money? Are they going to fail in a year? There was one that looked like a good, like this, I think we're going to work with them. So we went and just did a tour. And then as we're leaving, the volunteer that was, showing us, giving us a tour, the director came out. She's like, "Oh, who are you?" I said, "Well, we're with Enchanted Makeovers. We're just kind of visiting to see if you're the next, one that we're going to work with." She said, "I have to tell you, I had a dream the night before. And my dream was that someone would come here and bring light and hope into our bedrooms." And I said, "There's our divine appointment. There's our
Done. We're here.
yes, that we're supposed to be here." That's how it's like a hit and miss with things. That's how it works. So people like, well, I didn't expect that. They want a different answer, but I can only speak my truth that this is how it works.
Yeah.
So, but we are moving into grassroots. We want to work with grassroots um, shelters or homes that are for women that are escaping human trafficking or domestic violence. And these are usually maybe one employee. So it's all volunteers because we know that's really right now, that's where we need to be. Um, they need us more than the ones that are really bringing in the millions
Mm-hmm.
because it's very easy to get paint and paint. We know it's beyond paint, but I think that's where we need to be now is to
Mm-hmm.
go to that woman that started that nonprofit that really could use our help.
And supporting other
Yes.
grassroots nonprofits.
Yes.
Okay, I love that. So I know one thing we spoke about before that I thought was so powerful when we talked just briefly before this, but we talked about how like these women and children that spend this year there, that year is so powerful because they're coming out of this survival situation and this year is or however much time they spend there, they're really it's like the first time they can relax and process some of what's happening, so it's a very intense time in an important time in their life where they don't have a lot to give at that point because they're coming out of this intense situation. So tell me a little bit about that and how that plays a role in a lot of these services.
Well, we have the Sacred Sewing Room program, and that is we don't donate machines, we donate a sewing room. So you have to be willing to give up a space, and you have to be just really committed that when we set that room up, when we leave, that you continue to make sure volunteer instructors are coming in every week to teach, and that you reach out to your community to get more fabric. We get
Mm-hmm.
you started, and from there, we need you to commit to that you don't put those machines away in the closet because
Mm-hmm.
it takes a lot of work to pull, reach out to those corporations and companies that we've built relationships with. And they want that too. They don't want to fail that it's done in a year. So there's
Mm-hmm.
the first start, but that began with my mother. So my mother battles with depression. She always has. She still does. And I just remember as a kid, me, laying there on a Saturday morning watching cartoons and mom sewing. And you hear James Taylor, you hear Carly Simon playing in the background. Everything is good. But then there was also the time where the machine is off and the blinds are shut and there's no food on the table. But I choose to say, I'm going to focus on the light. And the
Mm-hmm.
light is the sacred sewing room. And each one we set up is, Mom, you are light. You are not that darkness that you battle here and there. So every room is kind of like my mom is sitting there, but it's another mother that's sitting in that chair. So
Yeah.
that's why we did it. My mother said that a sewing machine saved her life. And when she told me that, I said, we have to have a sewing room in shelters for women.
Yeah,
And that was
they're all
another,
based around sewing. I love it.
yes, yes, it's that whole therapeutic. You're learning a skill. You can take care of your family. But in that piece, we encourage the women to give back to their community. And
Yeah.
that is because my mother, even when we struggled, she was making those little pans of pizza, the sheets from the little Jiffy box. At that time, it was like 20 cents because it was in the 70s. And our job was to gather the kids in the neighborhood so she can make sure they had a meal on that Friday. And we were struggling. So that's why I encourage instructors, ask the women, will you be a part of your community? Because that's part of the healing. When we
Mm-hmm.
step out of ourselves too, even though we're struggling, we also are uplifting and standing next to someone else too.
Yeah. It's
And
energizing to connect to something
yes,
with a little purpose too. It like creates that energy. Sometimes it moves that stale, whatever you're
yes,
in.
yes. And sometimes I've said, when we step away from yourself so no one gets hurt.
Yeah. Right. Just take a
and
step
and
back,
that has been
check out.
healing.
Yeah.
Yes. So we've had women, they're making 250 pillowcases for the local hospital. They make dresses for girls in Africa. They make bibs for teen moms. Everything the women have made, they give away. because they have no money. So they're giving it to their friends, to their family. So, and if you fall behind in a project, another woman steps right there to say, I can help you. There's not exchange of words. This is what the volunteer instructors have shared with us. It's all that whole team system is I'm there to support you. So it's even beyond the sewing machine too in a factor. It's so many different like branches to every program. That's the beauty of it.
I love it. It's the grassroots, like love is in
Yes.
every essence and every chain link of this. It's all people
Yes.
just giving. So you seem to have a gift, some magic around your ability to get people to come together and provide these services. So any insight into how you're so successful? Because this is what I hear from you every time I talk to you or look into it. You just have this gift for bringing people out who want to give. And I love that.
Um, well, I think the gift is people want to be seen and heard. And
Mm-hmm.
through that is serving with your talent. Because that is your voice. When you're making that quilt, that's you. That's you in that quilt in your voice. So we want people to serve with their talent. That's it. It's really not rocket science. I mean, when it started, people were saying, well, I thought you were supposed to tell me what to do. But they were also sharing their story before they said that. And I knew in that moment it had to be full circle. Everyone had to have a voice in this. So people send stories of they're in domestic violence situation, but they're making a quilt.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be seen and heard, because if it's only half sided, you're really taking away something from the women and children because they have so much to teach us.
Yes. And I
So,
feel like there's so much power in people telling their stories for them and for the people receiving it. It's so powerful when people just talk. And it's a rarity nowadays that people sit down and take the time to listen, I feel like.
oh,
That's one of the reasons I
absolutely.
wanted to do this podcast, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so true. One of the women at the shelter, um, at the time was 2008, and something came over me like I should share their stories, like on video. And I got permission. We got everyone signed a release form, and I said, "Now this is going to go to YouTube," and they were all good with it. I said, "You don't know the seed you're going to plant with your story."
Oh my gosh,
So
yes.
one of the mothers, I remember sitting in the cafeteria at the shelter, and her baby was in the high chair, and she started sharing about she lived in Detroit, and she shared how her father would sell the food stamps, and she had brothers and sisters. So she said, my first thought was, I have to take care of my brothers and sisters. So I turned to stripping. I was 12 years old. And she said, the sad part is, I thought, well, I guess I'm good at something.
Mm.
That's how she saw herself. Um, she said, I'm so grateful I'm here now, rebuilding my life. I'm grateful for the food and the lighting, but no one ever wants to listen to our story.
Mm-hmm.
I never forgot that. I never forgot. I see her face. I'm not good with names. I never forget a face. So years had passed, and I was at a fundraising event. She was there, and she ran up to me and hugged me. And she said, I have to tell you, I went back to college,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I shared that video that you did of me to my class.
Oh my gosh, her
And she says, I
story.
ended up getting an A, and the class stood up and she got a standing ovation.
I got
She
chills.
incorporated that video of her story with her class.
Oh, that's
You
beautiful.
never know, just that little urge of saying, share the story. I just did what I felt in my heart. I never thought years later how it would make a greater impact.
Mm,
Yes. So I
I
urge
love
that
that.
for people is if it touches your heart, if there's tears, please, you don't might not have all the answers. You don't have the funding, the volunteers, take action. There's something greater out of that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I say this a lot. I'll probably say it almost every episode, but with women specifically and trauma survivors specifically, there's so much power in telling and hearing other people tell their stories as well, because there's something about us that is so easily we push it under the rug. Like you said, it took you so long to acknowledge your own experience. I've been that way as well. The older I get, the more I acknowledge about maybe some of the things that have happened to me in the past. And there, when you hear another woman or another trauma survivor talk about their story, something in our mind is like, oh, Maybe that affect, it validates something on a level that you can't validate without hearing stories. And then when you tell your story and see how other people connect to it, that also validates things. It's this exchange, and that community is so powerful. So I just so heartwarming to hear you making all these connections, giving these women a space to share their stories. I love it.
Yes. So it's beyond the paint.
Of
The
course.
paint is something, just a tool for something greater.
Yes.
If I was called to decorate, I would have kept my decorating business. I closed it down and started a nonprofit. So when I get those few that say, "Oh, you decorate shelters," I have to say, no. If I did, I would have kept my decorating business.
Yeah.
It's not about that. And I encourage people to come in that say that, because they need the transformation themselves to see that it's way bigger than that. You
Yes.
can't deny people. You want them to come in and learn. And hopefully it's the heart and mind is the bigger piece, that when we change the way we serve, it changes the way we see each other. And that's
Yeah.
my biggest piece I've stood by all these years.
It keeps that humanity alive.
Yes.
Like it doesn't let us
It's
dehumanize
not, I'm here to help the
someone.
abused women. I'm here to help the poor person. I'm here to help the homeless. No, we're here to serve each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's not the women and children's identity. It was their circumstance. It's not their identity. And
Mm-hmm.
you also have a story, because you're here too. Because we all have a story.
We do.
So that's the biggest. Because been asked before by different reporters, like, what is that you want to, like, kind of like, when you die, what is the thing you want?
What do you want to leave this world with?
Yes,
Yes.
and that is it. Is to see ourselves that she is me. And it's not that the two things that we see, the trafficking. It's the pain. It's
Mm-hmm.
that we all have a story. That's enough right there to say, let's walk beside each other. That's it.
Right. We're all connected in that we feel love, and we're all connected that we experience
Yes.
suffering. And suffering is suffering, regardless of who you are,
Yes.
where you come
That's it
from.
right there. Yes.
Love that. So you've been doing this 17 years now, is that right?
It's
17?
17 on December. In December, this past December, it was 17 years.
So because my thing, like in my personal practice, I'm like a burnout and stress relief coach. This sounds like a lot of stress, a lot of
Oh,
deadlines, a lot of, well, how do you manage stress in your personal life? I'd love to know, what are the things that keep you sane?
I love music.
Ooh, I love that.
I love music. Prayer.
Ugh.
Um, I love talking to my sister.
So you have a good
Um,
support community around you that holds
yeah,
you
my
up?
sister, my sister is a warrior herself. She's been with me by my side since day one,
Oh,
and she lives next door to me.
I love that.
So it's either talking through the window, because we're right next door to each other, and she always answers the phone. She's always there if I need her to go on a trip. My mom, obviously my COO, which is Ellen. She is not only the COO, but she's a dear friend to me. So friendship is really important. But the bottom line too is that this whole process too is I'm still continuing to heal.
Mm-hmm.
So just the women and how they taught me about integrity and honesty and truth and being yourself. That's enough too, that keeps me recharged too, my battery. And I do need quiet time. I just watch a movie and just zone out.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be something just totally, like, I love historical pieces.
Time period pieces. Yeah.
Yes, yes, those. I love those because I just zone out. So that's kind of my time to, like, it's a kind of form of like a meditation.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
that's how I do it.
I love that. And crafts, right? Are you a crafty person yourself? Because your business is
I
like
I
craft.
am, but I have to. My thing is being a voice for other people to make it.
Okay.
But I love to find handmade treasures at flea markets and thrift stores, because they're one of a kind and they're not mass produced. And I feel like, oh my gosh, somebody just embroidered that pillow and I have to save it and I want to share someone else's love. So I'm big. If I'm going to go thrifting, I want to find something handmade. That's
Oh,
my
I
big
love that.
thing.
I'm
Yes.
always getting the handmade pottery, like when there's any clay pottery that's been like thrown at a thrift store. I'm like, mine. I don't know what it is, but I
Yes.
love it.
Yes. And I know what I find is I find the clay pots that the children made in school,
Oh, how
and the
cute.
family donated it. I have
Oh.
some at the headquarters, and it has like
Oh.
the clay that goes in a circle. I have
Mm-hmm.
a pot, and I'm like, oh, they didn't save it. So I have it here.
I
Yeah.
love it. There's something about like someone made this with their hands and it's just
Yes.
beautiful. I love it.
And
So,
yeah, I think everything holds energy.
yes, I
So
agree.
it's yes. So it's bringing that, and you got to be careful too. I understand, but I just feel that's why we're big about handmade. It's that love and positive energy that you're putting out and you're giving that to someone else and they feel that. You
Mm-hmm.
can't get that off a shelf at a store. It's
Nope.
not the same.
No, I love them. So if people want to get involved or say a shelter wants to reach out to you or women hear this and they're like, I love to sew. I will do all of that. How do they get in contact with you? How did they get involved in all these beautiful things you're doing?
Just email us. It's enchantedmakeovers@comcast.net. You can check out the website, enchantedmakeovers.org. Our phone number's on there to give us a call. Call us. If you want to share, be a messenger, you now, Jen, have become a messenger. And
Yay.
as you know, this Monday, February 3rd, Kelly Clarkson is featuring our mission.
Woohoo.
Yes, and I shared with Kelly, you now have become a messenger for the mission. So
Yes, I love
that's
this.
you now are, Jen, a messenger for us.
Oh, I'm proud to be. Proud to be. I love it so much. So, is there anything you are planning for the future? Or are you just barreling ahead with all of that you've got going on? Is there any new projects to look for, or anything you're
Um,
searching for at the
our
moment that you'd like to put out there?
well, I've written a children's book, so that will be announced this coming week.
Look for it. Okay.
Yes, yes. And the second book is already with the illustrator, and the manuscript for my third is already finished.
Oh, I
So
love
it's three children's books. It's all based on the pillowcase, the doll adoption, and the cakes for kids. And it's
I
all
love it.
animals in their journey of discovery with all three projects.
Oh my gosh. I love
Yes.
it. I can't wait.
So, and then we hope to have more sewing rooms this year. That's the next thing. So that's enough right now for me. It's like,
Yeah, it's a lot.
yeah, yeah.
It's a lot. Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming. We'll
Oh,
put
you're
all these
welcome.
links in the show notes. Anything else you want to leave us with, Terry?
Um, I don't know. I just hope that a lot of seeds are planted in people's hearts and they know that they're loved and they are precious and they do matter.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much for coming
Oh,
today.
you're welcome.
We are definitely going to have to do this again to learn more about what you're doing. And yeah, so really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Jen.
You are welcome. Enjoying the podcast. If you want to support Empowered Ease, you can always buy me a cup of coffee. It's through the show link. The prices range from gas station to Starbucks. So I would greatly appreciate the support in editing and finding people and all the stuff that goes into this. Also, you can find links to all the guests in the show notes, all their socials that they chose to share, or websites where you can find their services or nonprofits. Thank you so much for watching the show and supporting the show. Please share with your friends. Just trying to create some light in the world and bring the ladies together. So hope you enjoy. I would love any feedback or stories shared with me. Please get in touch. I would love to hear what you have to say, what you're wanting, what you want to hear.